Hi everyone, welcome to the first episode of Adventures in Who, a title I'm not convinced by, but I didn't see anyone else using it, so that's what we've got. I'm Martin.
I'm Tash.
That's Tash. There we go. We're all here, and this is the first episode of this tomfoolery, where we're going to talk about Doctor Who, and hopefully we enjoy it, and we'll do more of them. Why are we doing this? Because we both love this show a stupid amount, and we end up talking about it a lot, and I was just like, why don't we do a thing where we talk about it and just whoever wants to be here has to listen to us? And that goes for everyone on YouTube who is watching this, and hopefully people will enjoy it. And for now, our goal is to cover the anniversary specials as they air, and presumably the Christmas special as well. See how we feel, if we're enjoying this, if other people are enjoying this, and then we'll do other stuff. I know Tash already wants to do... Can we do a 13th Doctor retrospective? Justice for Jodie, please. So that's...
I have so many things to say about that, and it is needed.
See? And that is why we're doing this, because we got shit to say. Also, there may be swearing. There might be swearing, sorry. I know Doctor Who's a family show, but that might happen, so apologies.
There'll be a lot of swearing on my side of things. Yeah. I'm sorry.
But yeah, that's the general mission statement for this whole thing. We're hoping it will appeal to people who are both into the show and maybe not into it. They might decide to give it a go. Like, if you are here live, because we're doing this live if you're watching this on YouTube, we're doing this live. Newts in chat just said she'd only watched one Doctor, so hopefully maybe we can convince people like Newts to watch more. That would be good. But yeah, that's the mission statement and why we're doing it. Anything you want to add to that, Tash?
I had no idea we were talking about Doctor Who today. This is quite the shock. Just kidding. No, yeah, I think we always kind of get into conversations about Doctor Who, and it's a very big generational thing. And yeah, it's just nice to be able to discuss things.
I agree.
Things and stuff about the Doctor.
Yeah, we often end up doing this via chats in each other's streams, and everyone else is like, oh, here they go again. Here they go again. So let's...
Paragraph novels.
Yeah, so let's just do an actual show talking about it. So yeah, thank you everyone who's come in so far to the live stream.
That is the beauty of the Doctor, is it can unite people and conversations and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. First things first, us. We're going to introduce ourselves, Tash, as to why we think our opinion should be in podcast form and why they matter at all. They don't, by the way. It's just people nerding out and just saying shit. But I feel like we should qualify as to why we're fans, how we became fans, all that kind of stuff. So I've been talking a lot. Do you want to take it away, Tash?
Sure. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say that it's because our opinion matters or we want to force people to listen to us. I think it's just something that we easily get passionate about, and then we just kind of derail conversations that way. So it's nice to have something to discuss it together. And I think one of the beauties of the Doctor Who franchise essentially is there's so many different opinions about so many different things, and opens up a lot of dialogue. And no matter if you agree or disagree with somebody on it, there's always going to be a different opinion, and there's a lot to discuss. There's a lot. It's lasted what,
60 years
decades? Yeah,
today.
6 decades on this day.
On this day
Specifically. And beyond, within those 60 years, there's so much stuff that has happened, both real timeline wise and Doctor timeline wise and different generations and whatnot. So it's just nice to discuss and kind of open up conversations for others. There are a lot of time there are new people that get into Doctor Who in the newer generations, and I think that's awesome, and to kind of introduce them to that. And yeah, I feel like the Doctor holds a special place in everyone's heart who does enjoy the Doctor, no matter kind of which way they were introduced to it and whatnot. Like for myself, I was introduced to it by my Opa, and long story short, my mom's grandparents were the only grandparents I really had, so my Oma and Opa, and it was just kind of listening to it at the time. We had no TV or anything like that, and just kind of being in that happy place where I could go visit them and just sit there and listen to it with my Opa. And then once it became on, like, televised again for me, I was like, "Holy crap, this is even better," you know? There's a childhood memory there of everything, and then there's also, you know, when they kinda came back with it again, that memory of everything again, so yeah, it just holds a special place.
So those, because I've heard you mention the audios that you listened to. Was that like the
Mhm.
old episodes in audio form? Like what was?
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
Okay, cool.
I
Just
don't know, it was very much like middle of nowhere farmland,
right.
whatever he could get his hands on.
These bootleg audio Doctor Who's just like
Whatever they did back in those days.
amazing. As for me, uh, growing up when Doctor Who wasn't airing, I was one of those weird kids who discovered. It sounds really seedy when I put it like this. I discovered my dad's VHS tapes under the stairs. It sounds
Under
dodgy.
the
Yeah,
stairs.
right.
Wow,
And
well,
I was like,
you took a
what's all
gamble there.
this? What's all this? But it feels like I've been watching it since I was born, but I must have been like 3 or something like that. And just one day randomly he decided, hey, here's 2 of these VHS tapes you keep looking at. Which one do you want to watch? And I think it was Castrovalva and Stones of Blood for people who know the old stuff, which is a weird pair of stories to be like, yeah, these are your introductions. One's like an
Yeah.
existential crisis story, and the
I
other
think
one's
that's the
about
perfect introduction, though.
and one's a cult around some stones that suck blood. So, I mean,
Also
interesting.
equally on par.
But yeah, that's how I started watching it. Became obsessed. One of the few kids who actually watched it. I think in the UK, everyone always knew it was there, but
Mhm.
during the 90s and stuff, it wasn't like a thing like it is today anyway. So I was one of those weird kids who knew everything. And I guess that made me appeal to the show even more because it's about outsiders to a degree, and liking the
Yeah.
show made me more of an outsider. So that was a weird loop. But yeah, that's how I got into it. Passed down. And I didn't mention this, I wanted to make this joke, but we're on the 60th anniversary and I thought I'd drink out of a Star Trek mug just to really annoy everyone.
Oh my gosh. I take no claim in that. I'm just gonna sip my black cat mug.
And like I said, we were saying earlier, like we're live streaming this on the 23rd of November, the
Yeah,
actual
yeah.
anniversary day. I was going to try and
Totally
claim,
planned.
completely planned. I didn't fudge that at all. That's exactly what I intended to do.
Mhm,
That was the
mhm,
plan.
mhm.
Um, that's us. That's why we like this show.
Yeah.
And why we feel like we have some stake in the game, I guess. There was a Children in Need special. When I was coming up with this, I was like, I don't know what we're actually going to talk about for this first episode, because there isn't much going on. And then I started making notes, and I was like, oh, there is actually quite a lot. And then the Children in Need thing happened, so there is actually quite a lot of things to talk
Yeah,
about, which...
a lot of excitement.
And it was called Destination Skaro, I think is what they called it, but it was like a 5-minute introduction to David Tennant's new Doctor and new Doctor, I guess. And
The
yeah,
new doctor.
good times. Tash apparently went down into a hole of like a 5-minute scene. I guess, I don't know if we want to talk about it. I guess we can a little bit. We won't dwell on it because trust
Yeah.
Doctor Who comes back and a 5-minute scene creates controversy. Like, it's insane.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it could. It's been done before.
Yeah,
It's
I
way
mean,
less, it costs way more.
I keep saying, like, I feel like every fandom about anything is this, like, it can get to this point of being, like, people having full-on arguments about something. But it never seems, maybe it's because I'm just more in the circles of it there, it never seems to get as loud as when Doctor Who fans get really angry about about something, or it's nuts.
Yeah.
As I say, it's one of the reasons, because some people may know this, I don't know, way back when I first started doing content creation stuff, like 10 plus years ago, I started doing Doctor Who reviews. That's what I started with. And I stopped doing it because the fandom started getting so...
Worked up.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
I need to move away from this. I just need to enjoy my stupid show on my own and not be involved in this. And then I thought, oh, let's do a podcast. That will go well because our opinions won't get judged whatsoever.
Well, I think it's just two friends having a gab over
Yes, that's
Doctor
the
Who,
aim.
it's
That's the
not
aim.
us saying our opinions are right or theirs
Hmm.
are wrong. That's the beauty of it. Everyone can have their own opinion.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, when you were talking about different opinions and stuff, I was going to jump in
Mhm.
and say, me and Tash are already aware of things that we disagree on
Yes. Yeah.
about this show. So that will be
We are.
interesting when if we do more of these and we start to cover some of that stuff that we don't agree on, that could, we'll see. We might get into some debate. But anyway, this children and
I
Eve
love a
thing.
good debate.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
child.
Yeah.
Do you want to start? Do you have what? I'm fascinated what you're going to say about
No.
this.
I talked a big game. I
Yeah,
don't have much to say, actually. Wrap it up. That's it.
wrap it up.
Looking forward to it. Bye, guys. No, I think that it was yeah. I'm trying to I'm trying to build excitement, but also see some things in it that I think
Mhm.
kind of go on par with my opinions of the theme song a little bit, but
Right. Yeah, we'll get
it
there.
was
We'll get to that
yeah.
chestnut in a minute.
Yeah. It's really interesting seeing David Tennant back as a doctor because you can just see, like, how much he's aged as well, so it's gonna be interesting to see him,
Mm,
like, if it's gonna be a more mature version of the Doctor, because obviously there's been generations of doctors since David Tennant was the Doctor last, so it was interesting to see him kind of just a little bit older and seeing how that's gonna go, and then also it's just such a tongue in cheek kind of joke at themselves a little bit, like,
mhm.
with the plunger, just sticking the plunger on there, and that's how we got the Dalek design that we have now. Because it's just like, "Here's this clunky thing, and it's gonna be awesome," But, like,
Mhm.
when these were first designed, it was so long ago. So it was very, like, kind of tongue in cheek of making fun of, like, the original design of the Daleks, and just how they when he was sitting there and talking about, like, the name Dalek, and the other guy's like, "Oh my gosh, that's genius, I've never thought of that," and, like, keeps going down, like, the list of things. And I just think it's really funny of, like, I don't know, for me, it's indicative of new people coming into Doctor Who and being like, "Oh, wow, that's cool," and you're like, "Wait, it gets better," like, there's so much history behind it that it was really funny to see, like, that moment of, "Oh, this is some good stuff, right? We should be taking notes," because it's for us, we've seen Daleks, it's so many times, right? It's, like, the one consistent thing you see a lot of in the Doctor Who franchise, and yeah, it just kind of reminded me of new fans being in like, "What's that?" "What are those?"
Just
Type of
wide-eyed,
scenario.
like, what is all this crazy? They thought they could
Yeah.
get away with a monster that has a plunger and an egg whisk, and it's the most deadly thing on the universe.
Really though, it's just, like, so, like, the even the way Daleks quote unquote "fly around" is just the most absurd.
It's
It's
very
the type
entertaining
of
to look
thing
at.
that you could see, yeah. So the Fletcher just was so tongue in cheek of like, "We thought this was genius back then," Gonna
Yeah.
rip off this handy thing from it and put on a plunger.
I love the design of the Daleks. I don't know what it is. I could not explain to you what it is that I love about it so much. I think it is just that it's somehow simultaneously scary and goofy as shit. It's like the silliest thing you've ever
Yeah,
seen, but also
yeah.
like I don't want that coming over the hill and shooting at me either. I wouldn't enjoy it. But no, you're right. That my biggest takeaway from this whole Children Need thing is that it was exactly what it needed to be, and that it was just a silly, goofy. It's meant to be fun because hey, we're doing it for a good cause, so don't forget about the good cause and just have fun with it. But simultaneously, like I say, it was a good way of introducing David's 14th Doctor. I was very curious about if he's going to be different at all, but then
Mhm.
you start to go, well, why would you bring him back to play it different? Like people
Yeah,
want him to be him, so you're not going to stray too far from that. But like I
yeah.
say, it's going to be interesting because I think he's such a fan of the show that
Mhm.
he knows that he's playing a version of the character who has also now been Jodie, Peter Capaldi, Matt Smith. So
Yeah.
he'll work something of that into there as well. Um, but also it's meant to be what you think he said 60 minutes after you regenerated, so he's going to be a little like wacky in the scene.
Ye
That
yeah, kind of just the typical lost while
mm,
regenerating so that we see with the doctors when they regenerate for the go through that process.
yeah, like it definitely. I got some Jodie vibes from his performance. Like he's not quite shaken off the previous
Yeah.
and still moving into it. Like the whole like, hello, my new best friend. That that line felt very Jodie-esque to me. So
Yep, yeah.
yeah, it's also because I think they filmed this not that long ago. So interesting for David to do all his specials and then come back and reset before he's
Yeah.
done all of that, which is, I mean, fun. Acting. That's what actors do, everyone. They
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Jodie regenerating into David Tennant was the first regeneration where the Doctor was in complete clothing of the previous Doctor. Like, there's always torn and
it's
battered parts of it.
it's happened previously. So when Patrick Troughton first took over, like if
Mhm,
like some of his outfit changed as well, but I
mhm.
think that was just them like, well, he doesn't fit into William Hartnell's clothes. Get him his own clothes. It's fine. Doesn't No one will notice. It'll be fine. And
Mhm.
then I think John Pertwee also, he sort of had Patrick Troughton's outfit, but John Pertwee's also a lot taller than Patrick Troughton. So they're like,
Yeah.
again, we're not going to see him for long. He's going to be in a hospital gown soon. So just, it's fine.
Just move on with
It's
it.
fine. It's fine. Don't worry. But in terms of, I think, yeah, the only other time it's actually technically canon that his outfit changed along with him is the first one and this one. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
but I'm fairly sure Russell T Davies just said the reason we did that is because we didn't want David in Jodie's outfit because one, she's a lot smaller than he is, and
Yeah.
we didn't want him to look really awkward in this kind of like, he's back. Did you expect him to be back? Even though it kind of got leaked, everyone kind of knew he was coming back before it happened.
Yeah,
But awkward, but
yeah.
it's okay. I think we'll go to Davros last because I think that's the biggest talking point of this whole thing. My notes on it are silly Castavilian, the name of the guy who's in the scene with him. Just that I could just
Yeah.
see Russell T Davies going, what do I call him? And then I go, we got to cast him too. We got to cast this villain. Oh, I got it. Cast a villain. Brilliant. I'm a genius. Go me. My
Yeah,
naming.
yeah. One that I had no idea was going on either too. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, my favorite bit, like you're saying about him coming up with the names of for the Dalek. My favorite part of that was him just improving, like the last one, where he's looking at his tablet with all these names, and he's like, on the
Yeah, just
last
let's
one.
combine these letters in a different way that makes no sense. I mean, none of
Um,
them were great until that, but it's just yeah.
and the other biggest clue that this was just meant to be a laugh, this whole scene, was Murray Gold just playing, this is a comedy music.
Yeah.
Underneath the whole thing, just this bouncy, just silly music that's just bobbing around.
Yeah, and you can even tell, like, the way that they were standing, they weren't even taking themselves seriously.
I could feel the Castavilian's character just being bamboozled through this whole
Yeah,
scenario
yeah.
of a dude who's just crashed into his room, just like, what is happening? What?
Yes.
I will say though, even though we're sort of having fun with the old Dalek prop, I think they did a good job of making it look pretty good for a prop from, well, that prop being from 1975 and then having it on a modern camera and it not looking like actual trash on screen. It actually looked pretty imposing when they
Yeah.
first like introduced it with like the fucking smoke bursting out from underneath it and everything. And then it kind of moved its head around and then it started to be like, they were playing it up for laughs where the whole thing starts vibrating every time it
Yeah.
spoke.
Yeah, but they did good, especially with, like, the lighting around it, and I think chose darker color schemes around it
Mm. Yeah.
to try and make it look like high tech.
I'm hesitant to bring this part up because I know we're both on the same like wavelength to something, but it
Mhm.
looked very Star Wars Imperial starship. Like the
It
whole scene.
really did. It
Like
really
even
did,
like the slotted lights on the set behind
Mhm.
them.
Yeah, yeah, we are on the same wavelength there. I was just like, I don't and I mean, you have so many sci-fi shows, some of them are going to obviously tease a little bit of each other and, it's canon for all the series to kinda do that, but it was very, very, like, Star Wars theme. I couldn't get over it, and I was like, "All right, we got the black, we got the red, we got the white," you know?
Because the uniforms that both Davros and Castavillin are wearing in that scene are very Imperial officer-esque, but
Yeah.
they are pretty much replicas of the outfits from Genesis of the Daleks. It's all stemming from the same thing. Like both those Star Wars and that story is like, hey, the Nazis were a thing. Let's base it off of that and see look how ridiculous that whole way of thinking was. I mean, there was a certain character, like the second in command in Genesis of the Daleks, in that uniform. He actually had like the cross thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
which they had to remove afterwards because someone said that's a little bit too on the nail. Can we take that
Yeah,
out?
yeah.
So it just vanishes conveniently in the next episode. I guess we have to move on to this Davros thing, which has caused debate on the Twitters and all the places.
Yeah, yeah,
Before
yeah.
we get into that, I will say, one, it was nice seeing Julian Bleach without all the prosthetics and stuff on, so he could actually see his performance for once. That's
With
nice.
a full body, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Not
You
just
can,
the sliding half a body.
yeah. Because I think he killed it, and plus, in the context of this episode, it's clearly meant to be taking place before whatever
Yeah.
happened, which is,
Yes, yeah.
and I think a lot of people have been sort of like, no, Russell's ruined it and retconned, and this is what Davros. No, clearly in this scene, it's taking place before. Just sit down. Don't panic. All right. Don't.
Yeah, and I feel like if I don't like the plunger was a huge hint of like, hey, this is
Mm-hmm.
happening before everything, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's where the design came from. So, I feel like people might not have caught on to the
Yeah.
time period of this.
Yeah. But I think I don't know how. I mean, I haven't spoken to you about this at all, so I don't know what your
Yeah,
opinions
yeah.
about this is at all. So where all the controversy stems from is, I suppose, Russell in the behind the scenes to this special
Mhm.
said that this is how he now envisions Davros from this point onwards, because
Yep.
he finds it problematic that a wheelchair user is being shown as just purely villainous, and like that was an issue he had and wanted to change it, and that
Yep.
not be the outlook anymore, because things change and he wants to change with it. And I had so many thoughts in my head when I first heard this. I was like, I don't know what to think, because he's not wrong. This is the important thing.
Yeah.
What he
Yeah.
said was about how media, stories like TV, movies, all of it, there is a long history of things being depicted that way purely for the sake of depicting it that way.
Yeah.
I had to think about this a whole lot about how how I felt, because the thing about the Davros design is that it's iconic. You can't deny that it's iconic, because it's a silhouette that you instantly recognize and
Yeah.
whatever. And I want to jump in and say my opinions about this literally do not matter. Like, I'm like on the totem pole of who should like be listened to on this subject. I am like somewhere right down the bottom. That doesn't matter. But I did purposely, because I was very curious. I went and dug around on Twitter, which is always a dangerous thing to do. Don't do it.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
one do
Yeah.
that
Don't.
to
No.
yourself. Because I wanted to hear what
Definitely.
people thought about this, who are actual wheelchair users, and what they felt
Mhm.
about this choice. And
Yeah. Hearing from the community firsthand.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And it was no easier deciphering an opinion, because they were all arguing as well. Literally
Yeah.
everyone
Yeah.
was arguing. And
Everyone will always argue.
I think it just kind of proved the point that it's a very nuanced issue. It's not. And
Yeah.
the only thing about Russell's statement that kind of irked me and still irked me was how he said the world is no longer black and white, but then proceeded to give a very black and white answer to the problem. So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was the only thing I took away from. I don't know. However, I think my most important thought is, if this makes people who are wheelchair users be like, I don't want to be depicted as villainous and whatever, and if that makes them feel better that that isn't the case, then that's the most important thing at the end
Yeah.
of the day.
Yeah.
And look, who knows if they're even going to use Davros again? That's the other part of this. I mean, I guess he kind of hinted that, hey, it's an interesting character, maybe we use him again, and maybe that means something. we don't know, but there's every chance that he might not show up again, at least for years from now. Um, and plus, there's
Yeah.
all kinds of conspiracy about, because Disney Plus, which you're going to be our correspondent on how Doctor Who looks on Disney Plus, because we don't have that here in the UK.
Yeah,
um,
it would be interesting.
um, people were thinking like it's a conspiracy that Disney Plus is Disney's hand. Disney have made them do this, which I'm like, I don't know if
I
that's
don't
true.
think no, I don't think so. I don't think that's true. I think Disney has bought out a bunch, at least here in the States, has bought out a bunch of content from Hulu. And of that content, it isn't all like Disney-esque content, right? It's kind of, I think,
Mm.
just streamlords wanting to get the most profit and take things over, and other platforms not wanting to do the bidding or pay the price to have those titles.
So yeah, I don't know. So how are you feeling about removing him from the wheelchair and Russell's kind of stance on the whole thing?
Yeah, yeah. So I think obviously Russell was trying to say like time, society, and culture has moved on. We don't need to just depict this villain as always being in a wheelchair, right? And I think what we saw, there's always going to be controversy no matter what. There will always be controversy, always be different opinions. What we saw with Jodie's season was a lot of a little bit more in your face. It's happened before, but a little bit more of in your face of just like a little bit of social justice and like these issues and like why aren't you listening to us about these issues? And I think this compared to what Jodie's seasons try to do is much less jarring per se
Yeah, they don't
to the
call
people that
attention
are
to it.
upset about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's
You
not.
know?
It just is what it is, kind of thing. Rather than, um, I mean, I don't want to call out any episode in particular, but when the episode ends with a 5-minute lecture to the audience about why you shouldn't do a thing,
Yeah.
I would debate that
Yeah.
that's not the best way to write your story. I would like maybe interweave it with your story rather than be like, okay, everyone, this is what the story was about. Now
Yeah, yeah.
be
Listen
better
to
people.
us.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
It was very like Bill Nye having his like I don't even know what that video how long it was, but he had a video where he like just lit a globe on fire and he's like, "I'm done. You're not children. I'm not treating you like children anymore. Like the planet's on fire." Is very much like that, where I think this was more subtle.
Hmm.
But you do have like obviously neither one of us are disabled in a wheelchair, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it really I feel like I don't have much of a right to speak for those
Yes.
individuals,
Yeah.
and even they might, like you said, they have different opinions on it. Um, a lot of
Yeah.
people are saying that they think this is Russell, like, there's hope that Russell is going to now be able to kind of take into mind the time and place of the world right now and kind of weave that and be open to change and not just having, like, a very traditional doctor, like, actually kind of taking a peek at some of the social stuff going on, maybe not in the same intensity as we saw with Jodie's seasons,
Hmm.
but it really depends on if he's actually gonna do that, right? Was this just kind of a one-time thing? Is it gonna kind of be weaving in throughout his upcoming seasons? It's interesting how it's kind of like, "Oh, we want to do this little bit of change," but then so much of the other stuff is kind of going back to the older stuff, you know? Like, it'll just be very interesting. I see the intent there, you know, we've seen kind of it's kind of adding some humanity to Davros that we don't really get to see, like, we get to see a little bit, of humanity within Davros, and I think we get to see Davros and the Doctor laugh together once over a joke, but you don't get to see a lot of the human side of him really, giving kind of a little bit more of an emotional tie, and you kinda get to see like, his little smirk and being like, "I like it," to the plunger design, you know, you get to see that humor again, we've only
Yeah.
seen him in kind of one state.
I mean, if you want to make your characters more three-dimensional, I'm all here for that. Because as much as I love Davros, he is a bit of just a cackling, like, I will take over the universe and make my metal monsters man
Yeah,
who
yeah, yeah.
likes doing things. So if you want to make him more interesting, I'm here for you to do that. I'm sure there's people watching who are not in the loop of this and don't like. There was a big debate. If you're in our universe, yes, there was a lot of people arguing. It was
Yeah, there
everywhere.
was, yes.
Destination Skaro, silly, fun, raised money for a good cause,
Yeah,
reintroduced David Tennant in a fun way, um,
yeah.
and ultimately got me excited and, you know, controversial. David Tennant is not one of my favorite doctors, so got
Yeah, same here.
got me like, oh, maybe it'll be fun to see him again, because I was very much on the fence about, oh, we're doing David Tennant again. Like, there's so much. He's on everything, even when he's not in the show. Like, throughout Peter Capaldi and Jodie Whittaker's eras, it felt like there was David Tennant stuff everywhere.
Yeah, I bet he's really into the Doctor Who family, like, even his wife is a daughter of a previous doctor,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's
Mm-hmm.
like it's very instilled in their family,
My
so
boy,
it makes sense.
Peter Davison, my boy. Oh, I can't wait. If we keep doing more of these, you betcha I'm making you watch some Peter Davison, and then you can be like, why? Why is he your
No,
favorite?
no. I don't mind watching that stuff. I think it'll be easier to access as well
Yes, it
once
should be.
like, it's tough now. It has been tough
Mm,
to try to find those older episodes.
good times. Destination Skaro. We both liked it. It was fun and silly, as it should be, because it's children in
Yeah.
need. Good things. All right. Other stuff happened. As I was making notes for what we were going to talk about, a few things happened. 3 of these things you can't really talk to because they haven't happened in the US. They're withholding it from
Okay.
you. They don't want you to have it. It's very mean. I did write a letter to them to try and sort this out for you, but
Freaking rude.
yeah, really rude.
How dare they?
We'll go. We'll start with one that you can't really talk about, and then we'll go to one that you can talk about, and then we'll go
I
back.
can give my
You can give one.
unwarranted
Yeah,
opinion.
exactly, absolutely. You do you do that. I mean, some of this is probably on YouTube, so if you're outside of the UK, you can probably find things from it. They did a documentary on BBC4, which had David Tennant going through a bunch of archive footage, from various bits and pieces, and the highlight of this whole thing was watching David Tennant watch Tom Baker do his regeneration scene, like the behind the scenes footage.
Mhm.
And that was fun. Like David Tennant going, as an actor, I don't know if I'd want this footage out there. Like, just this personal moment of me essentially leaving this job I've been in for 7 years.
Yeah.
And then the new guy showing up who is now his father-in-law. So, which it was funny. It was funny. It was a good little documentary with him just looking at the actors, and just having fun with it. But it's just an hour. It was fun. I enjoyed it for what it was. But then
Yeah.
we can move on to the thing you can talk about, which is the music.
The music.
Yeah. So they did an orchestra show,
Mhm.
which debuted the new theme song and the 15th Doctor's theme and Ruby Sunday's theme. But you got thoughts and feelings about this new theme, Tash? You want to talk about? you want to go in on this? Controversial feelings may happen here, everyone. So
I wouldn't say they're controversial. I think, like I said, if Russell is going to be open and willing to change, I feel like he's going to have to prove it a little bit and not just kind of bring back the same old stuff, right? Um, which can it's a huge possibility. Like you can't just bring back the same old stuff. And I'm hoping what happened to Jodie's season won't kind of force people to, like revert back because I think it's important to progress. I think it's important to progress as a TV show. But with that being said, is I feel like the theme song was just the old theme song with
mhm.
Star Wars mixed in. Like it just wasn't yeah, like it was fine. It was just fine. I felt like we just
It
went
felt,
backwards in time and
yeah,
added Star Wars sounds to
it
it.
felt kind of. I mean, I don't know what I expected, because I was kind of guessing that, um, because it's David Tennant coming back and Russell coming back and all of this, that I figured they're probably going to hark back to that theme from his time a little bit. But I wasn't
Mhm.
quite expecting how much of basically a copy and paste it
Yeah,
was
it
going to
truly
be.
was. It's like, here's the same thing, but we added Star Wars
But
sounds.
we'll
Have
add
fun.
trumpets. We'll add
Yeah.
trumpets to the beginning of it. I mean, it's still the theme. Like, the theme's great. It's
Yeah,
still a
yeah.
good theme song, but I don't know. I don't know if we're both just kind of um partial to the more electronic sounds, I guess.
Maybe. I think just Jodie's Jodie's theme song was such a bop. Like, I loved
Hmm.
Jodie's theme song. I loved how different it was, and so I think it's tough to go from something that is so different and unique and kind of keeping up with, like, some of the things that have changed music scene-wise, right? And then to go just back to that. There is
Mm.
the appreciation of it being, like, it's an orchestra, it's live instruments, it's not all just electronic, but it's still just, like, it w I don't wanna just go back in time, I
Yeah.
guess. I want,
Yeah.
and I don't want that to be a sign for me that we're just gonna go back in time. It's still beautiful, it's classic, everyone loves a good classic. I think just going from Jodie's theme song to this one was just like, it's
Yeah.
fine,
It did.
It's fine.
Yeah, like I say, I think it just kind of was a little bit unremarkable. I mean, I get a lot of people are enjoying it, and good for
Yeah.
them. You enjoy the thing. That's good. I was just kind of
Yeah, yeah.
like, hey, Murray Gold's been away from the show for a good chunk of years. I'm kind of interested to hear what he's going to do with that time difference and what he's might have learned from other projects
Yeah.
that he's been working on. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, it's it's the
The
same
same.
theme. It's the
Yeah.
same theme again. There it is. But
It is the same.
it does lead me to
Yeah.
think. I wonder if when Shooty comes in, if he's going to change it again, as if this theme that they're doing is just for these three specials, and
Yeah.
then they're going to change it again for Shooty, which is a possibility. So it's not quite so David Tennant theme again, because that makes sense to me. But maybe I'm overthinking that, and it is just going to be the trumpet theme, as I'm now going to refer to it
The
as.
trumpet theme, trombone theme.
Yep.
We need yeah, I think, yeah, it'll be interesting. Only time can tell if they'll change it again.
Hmm.
I think that it would have been nice to see someone new come in as a composer. It would have been nice to give another new opportunity to
Yeah.
someone. And there's so many amazing individuals out there, and a thing like Doctor Who can be a big break in your career. It could be like, just a good learning step in your career. There's so much that goes into creating Doctor Who that it would have been nice to see someone else have a shot and a chance versus, and there's nothing wrong with bringing someone back that you trust. This happens all the time, right? Like,
Hmm.
directors, all of those individuals have kind of like their crew of people that they really love and they work well with, and there's that synergy. So I completely understand that. It just would have been nice to see, and there still could be someone new that comes in, right? But it would have been nice to see someone else kind of get a new shot at it.
Yeah. I mean, I know they did do interviews with both Russell and uh, Murray Gold at that musical thing,
Yeah,
and it's kind of clear that they just both have a shorthand with each other, so that's why they work with each other as frequently as they do, which is fair
yeah,
enough. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I'm interested to hear what his other themes are going to be because he's a good composer. Like I feel like if
yeah.
I think about TV shows that have really good orchestral scores, honestly, I think of Doctor Who and I think of Game of Thrones. Like I think
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
they're two shows that have like the most remarkable cinematic scores in them compared to most other TV shows. But yeah, that's the music stuff. Did you listen to the 15th Doctor's character theme and the Ruby Sunday themes?
Yes, yeah,
Yes. What did
yeah,
you
I did.
think of those?
Uh, I mean, they were fine too. They were fine too. Like,
The other thing to remember is that we're listening to them out of context of an episode. We're like listening to
yes,
just the raw version of it rather than it being mixed into an episode as stuff is happening, which is important to remember. But yeah.
yes, definitely. I think I can't speak much to it until I see what's kind of tied to it, because I think that does make a huge difference, seeing like the setting and place and what it's actually going to build up to per
Mm,
se, than just kind of listening to it blind. I think no matter what, it's all very beautiful music. It's, a lot of talent goes into this, so I don't want
hmm.
to knock anything from those people, but it's just kind of seeing, like, you know, when and how it's going to take place
Yes.
and how it adds to that
It's
that
like
visual.
the 15th Doctor music is so boppy.
Yeah.
It's a fun piece of music. It's really boppy and stuff. I'm interested to see how it applies to, let's say, an action sequence
Yeah.
or like an epic vista kind of sequence. Like
Yeah.
it just seems so like just watching a bop. Just watching
Bopping
someone bopping
around.
around. I mean, it's fun, but I'm just interested to hear how it will sound in context. And then similarly, like the Ruby theme, I wasn't expecting it to be a waltz. I don't know why. I just wasn't expecting that. So
Mhm.
again, I'm interested because it seems a lot more emotive. So
Yeah,
to hear that theme play during an emotional scene of some kind will be interesting.
yeah,
So yeah.
yeah, it will be. There's no way to know until we see
Mm,
it. But yeah, it kinda teased 2 different styles very much so,
yes.
so it'll be interesting to see if they're gonna use it in a very serious way, if it's gonna be very tongue or cheek or kind
Mm.
of, like, sarcastic, or we're thinking way too much into it, you know?
um, yeah, and obviously Murray in the past, he's taken those initial themes and then reworked them
Yeah.
for different contexts in the past. So that's always fun. It's good to hear get a sense of what the two characters may be like. Isn't it wild that they're filming Shooty's second season already and we haven't seen a single frame of him yet?
Yeah. Yeah.
Through the power of editing, we're back. YouTube, we're back. We were saying things. Yeah, Shooty Gat was filming his second season, and we've not seen basically a frame of him yet.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I'm really excited. I'm really excited for their debut, though. I think
Mm.
their acting in Sex Education was hilarious. That show was amazing, and it will be interesting to see that character versus the Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think it'll be worth the wait. I know there's a lot of people that felt like David Tennant coming in after Jodie kind of took away from that Doctor's regeneration a little bit,
Mm.
but I think I'm hoping they'll do them justice.
Yeah, there's been some word of mouth from like behind the scenes of apparently one particular scene that he filmed not too long ago,
Mhm.
which sort of kind of floored everyone on the crew as it was being filmed. So I'm excited. I mean, of the very
Yeah.
tiny little snippets we've got to see, um, it looks like it'll be interesting. He definitely has that charisma that I think Russell
Yes.
goes for when casting this part. Um,
Yes.
so
Definitely.
it'll be interesting. But we'll save that for when Shooty shows up at Christmas time, I guess, because it's all completely speculative at this point. Other than his outfits, then
Yeah.
damn fine outfits he's got going on.
Yeah, yeah. I think yeah, it's strange that we've seen so little of him or them, but I think it'll be worth it.
It's
Hopefully, it'll be kind of passing on the torch for another new
mm,
generation per se, right?
yes,
Kind of
yeah,
giving
yeah,
it it's like, go ahead, we've kind of wrapped up our 60 years here,
yeah. Like
passing on the torch.
I've only seen a very tiny bit of Sex Education because once I knew
Mhm.
that Shooty had been cast, I was like, I'm gonna go look up the
Yeah,
clips
see who
of the
this is about,
show
yeah.
that I
Yeah.
know that they're in, and it's very funny. It's very funny, but I am very interested to see if we mix the humor that they're doing there, but
Yeah.
also do the more gravitas stuff and yeah, all that
Yeah.
kind of vibe.
I know you haven't seen much of Sex Education,
Mm,
but their character in that show deals with a lot of internal conflicts. Like,
mm-hmm,
it is very, like, a comedy type show with serious topics,
right.
and I think if they can portray kind of that conflict, I'm excited to see what they can do with even more conflict
Yeah.
as the Doctor.
Shooty's got a whole bunch of outfits lined up, which I'm kind of in two minds about because call me old fashioned, but I like the Doctor to have like a silhouette and like an instantly recognizable, oh, that's that Doctor, but Shooty's going to have like 20 billion different silhouettes lined up on all these outfits that they're putting together, but it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll probably give them like a one normal one beyond certain type of time period episodes, because I think a
Mm,
lot of what we've seen has been time period relevant
mm,
to
yeah.
kind of what's happening. Yeah, it'll be very interesting. I think they can pull off a lot of different looks.
Yeah, for
That
sure.
is
For
that is
sure.
for sure, yeah, and I'm sure having somebody that can pull off a lot of
Lurks.
looks as a costume, maker, it would you can't help yourself from wanting to have fun, right? Like, if you have somebody who is very diverse and can pull off a lot of different styles, I can see the drive to be like, "Oh, finally,
Mm,
let's throw some fun things here and there," but it'll be interesting to see if they still can give them a just, kind of that silhouette look.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
A silhouette look.
It was interesting because I read an interview with Shooty where they said they kind of got pushed into exploring the fashion. Like, at first,
Mhm,
they were like, I have an idea of what I want my Doctor to look like. And then they were
mhm.
like, no, we want you to keep going. We want you to keep coming up with ideas so we can keep changing you into different outfits. And so, fun for Shooty to mess around with costumes.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if there's a purpose behind
Mm,
that, if they're just trying to be like, "No, we just need to keep staying, like, hip," trying
mm,
to stay ahead of the use. So, it'll be interesting. I do think the orange and tweed look was very different from what
mm-hmm,
we've seen color
mm-hmm. Yeah,
pattern-wise
yeah,
in the past, like, we get the blue back in the 1960s Doctor Who that we
yeah.
saw.
You mean
Um
Colin Baker's big multicolored coat? Was that is that not colorful enough for you? Do you not want more of that? I want Shooty to wear that coat, and Shooty
I
could pull
mean,
it off.
anything's possible. Anything's possible. I did like Jodie's,
Hmm.
like, version of the outfit a lot.
Yeah,
So, yeah, it'll be interesting. Um,
yeah. Sorry, tangent.
yeah.
Shooty wasn't on the agenda of our list of things to talk
No,
about,
no,
but
it wasn't,
it's
yeah,
just
yeah,
it's
we can
here.
reel it back in.
The other
Mhm,
thing that came out on iPlayer over here, which I kind of think it's, I mean, it must be a broadcasting rights situation where Disney can't show the old episodes for some reason, or I think specifically in this case, Russ Davis said that this was paid for by license payers, so that's
mhm.
why Disney can't have it because of how the
That
license
makes
fee
sense.
works and everything. They did a thing called Tales of the TARDIS. I don't know if you know about this or not. Because naturally, because it's not being airing over your
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
um, so they got a bunch of original actors from the original show. So there's one starring Peter Davison as the Fifth Doctor and Janet Fielding as Tegan. One with Fraser Hines back as Jamie and with Zoe. Like, and they're all these kind of they're in character, performing their characters again in
Mhm.
this amalgamation TARDIS, sort of talking shop about their time on the TARDIS, hence the title,
Yeah,
and then it just cuts to a story from their era. So they'll be talking about something, and then it will
yeah.
just go into it, and it's a pretty good way to get a younger audience to watch those older stories by having that modern look and aesthetic to
Mhm.
help get you in, and then be like, hey, here's this story that if you're a kid who likes Doctor Who and you've never heard of any of the old stuff, here's a good entry point for you because you get that modern
Yeah.
thing mixed in. So I think it's a shame that that's not airing everywhere. Like
Yeah,
you'd
it depends.
you'd think like if you want your franchise to be more global and you want
Yeah.
the legacy of that show to be more global as well, that's exactly the sort of thing that you'd make more available to everyone to see. Um,
Yeah, yeah. And it is strange, with the BBC. Like, I know we can get some on BritBox, but
hmm,
there's also a difference between the US version of BritBox that you can get versus the UK version, and a lot of the times I feel like I've utilized just other methods.
yes,
I'll say
yes.
I'm trying to
Other
trying to watch that
methods.
other methods, yeah. But yeah, it is a bummer that you don't get all of that.
Hmm. Hmm.
But, okay, I can see the reasoning behind it. I mean, the BBC is its own beast
Yeah,
completely, right?
I'm sure there
Completely
are
different.
so many complications to all of it, especially given how much of it there is. I know
Yeah.
because just recently everything's been put on iPlayer, all of the old stuff, the new
Mhm.
stuff, the spin-offs, which has never happened before until this year. That all of it has been
Yeah,
available on there. So,
and
and
it's gonna be available permanently, I
I
believe,
think so. That's
at the
the
moment
plan.
is what was said, yeah.
And they were saying this took an unbelievable amount of effort to make happen. For some reason, you'd
Yeah.
think the BBC owns this. It shouldn't be that hard to to get all of it on there. But apparently,
Yeah.
it was a real headache.
I mean, licensing stuff, right? Look
hmm
at everything that's happened with other franchises that we've seen where it's just been a battle
I
forever.
Yeah, I mean, the other drama is that the very, very first episode isn't on there because of the guy's son, I believe. I've forgotten his
Mhm.
name. Not that it matters because he's being a bit of a tool about the whole situation, so who cares?
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
withholding that first episode from being broadcast because he's got some weird opinions. I'm just going to put it like that. He's got some weird opinions about the world, not healthy ones, and is being a tool, as I say. That's me putting mildly, by the way. Um,
Yeah, yeah, that's putting it very politely, which is so
it's,
strange to me because, like, that's such a big thing, you know?
it's the
Like,
very
you
first episode of the
you
whole
must
thing.
have grown up, like, hating
I mean,
hating the fact that this it's strange.
yeah, he's saying that he blames the BBC for his dad's death
Mm,
for some reasons, and
yeah.
I mean, at your own risk, you can go see his Twitter feed, but
No,
it's
no, I don't
got,
need to relive
yeah,
that. Yeah,
don't do
yeah,
it. But yeah, it's a shame
yeah,
that that's not there. Thank God everyone's got a DVD with with the episode on.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and if it's that hard to get it all on iPlayer on the BBC, no, Lord knows how hard it'd be for Disney to get hold of all of it. Like, and because of how rights work,
Yeah.
like different writers have the rights to different things in the old stuff, which isn't necessarily the case how it works now, and the whole
Mhm.
thing. But anyway, it's all there. That's nice. And Tales of the TARDIS is good. I've seen all the stories that they cover multiple times anyway, but I watched all the little bits that the actors came back to do, and it was good. It was good to see them all.
Yeah.
Especially some of the, I mean, I don't want to sound rude, but the older cast members coming back. Like, we're talking about people who haven't played these characters since the 60s in some cases.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of time
uh,
has passed. A lot of
so
time.
it was nice. It was nice seeing them. It was a very touching one for Joe Grant and Clyde from Sarah Jane Adventures for a third Doctor story, which
Mhm,
sort of touched on because sadly, the actor who played the character that her character got married to passed
mhm,
away, and they kind
yeah.
of paid respects to him in that little bit. But yeah, it was and apparently they might be
Ooh,
doing
I love
more.
Sarah Jane.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be and I think on that same note with, bringing Donna back, it'll be interesting because we lost Wilf.
Yes.
So I think it's going to be a lot of emotional like, there's so many people who have been touched by Doctor Who in the past 60 years, right? There's gonna be a lot of
hmm
emotional ties to those, so it'll be interesting to see kind of how they honor all of those individuals, and I think it's heartwarming no matter what, no matter how
hmm
long they were any of them who are on Doctor Who, no matter how short or long time period, I think it's something that will change your life no matter what, either for the worst or for the better, it's still a monumental moment for
hmm
anyone who's involved in these in their careers to have those fond memories of it. So,
Yeah.
it's nice being able to go back and kind of honor that, and see everybody have one little last bit of fun, if you
yeah.
can even call it fun with doing these things.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, they were all good. I think in during Matt Smith's time when Nicholas Courtney passed away, who played
Mhm.
Brigadier. Um,
Yeah.
I was a wreck in that scene. I was not expecting them to actively like acknowledge it in the show,
Yeah.
and then it happened. I was like, "Excuse me, you can't pull this on me."
Yeah,
And then the added context to it, like being like, "This is the Doctor's oldest friend passing away,"
Yeah,
and
they yeah.
the Doctor's in a point where he's accepting his own passing in this moment, and he's like, maybe it is
Yeah.
time. I was like, come on now, you can't do this to me, you show.
Yeah,
God damn
yeah.
it.
I feel like a lot of Matt Smith stuff was already very emotional. So just adding more emotions onto everything in a very,
hmm
like, I don't even know. I wouldn't even call it a clip. It was very just like a very dramatic and high building moment, and then you're just like, "Cool, I'm crying now."
Yep, yep, yep. I love that.
Everything's fine.
If you've never watched Doctor Who and you're watching this, it can do that to you. I'm warning you now.
Yeah.
I'm,
Yeah, it can do that to
it
you.
can
It
sneak up
can.
on you because you're like, I'm watching a silly, goofy show with silly aliens and everyone's running around. It's a fun time. And then all of a sudden it's like, cry. We demand you cry now.
Yeah. Here's this really emotional scene. Have at it, you know? It's
Mm-hmm.
very, like, they kind of tie in your emotional awareness and growth towards characters subtly because there is so much other stuff going on all the time that you don't really realize how strongly you feel about a character until it's, like, right in your
Yeah.
face, and you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I wasn't expecting this. God damn it."
Have you watched just sorry to go back to Bernard Cribbins and Wilf, have you seen the movies from the 60s that had Peter Cushing in? You seen
Yes,
those?
yeah,
So
yeah.
you okay, I was gonna say that's the first time I saw Bernard Cribbins in anything was that second movie, and instantly like, well, it's arguably the best thing about that movie. And he's just being an
Yeah, just such
absolute
a
goofball.
precious. Yeah, yeah, such a precious soul. It's yeah.
Best David Tennant companion was Wilf. Fight me. Best, like
Wolf was Wilf.
it was Wilf.
Wolf
So
was great. Yeah,
um,
Wolf was great, and Sylvie was also great, like, just their whole dynamic with
yeah,
Donna and, like, giving like, you kinda see with some companions' parents giving some sass back
mm-hmm.
to the Doctor when the Doctor is introduced to them. Like, Rose's mom was just I won't get too onto a side tangent, but it was, like, crazy the first time,
Yeah,
and then kinda watching the towards the end of it, you know, when we see Davros, she's much more tame now that she comes from another place.
mm-hmm.
But, like, Sylvie and Wilf just had such a, like, interesting dynamic with the Doctor, and I think also as equally as Donna pushed the Doctor, they pushed the Doctor as well,
Mm-hmm.
and showed that kind of, like, that disappointment of, like, "What do you mean?" You know, "What do you mean she can't remember any of this?"
Yeah, like I'm not a big fan of the End of Time two-parter, the David
Mhm.
Tennant's finale, but
Yeah.
the scenes with him and Wilf, they hit. They hit hard.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
just the fact there's it's just this old man from Earth who the Doctor's like, I would be so happy if this was my actual dad, granddad. Like
Yeah, yeah.
this ancient alien from another planet is like, I want Wilf, and who could blame him? It's fucking
Yeah.
Bernard Cribbins, goddamn.
And Wolf is just, like, really unfazed by everything. Wolf's like, "Ah, yeah, that
Yep.
that fits in," you know?
Yeah, he's like
"Nothing strange about this."
he's straight into it, but he's also in awe of things. It's like it's so
Yeah.
adorable. Like he's like, I love this, but at the same time, we got a job to do, and I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There is something else I should mention, which I didn't write down on my notes, which I should have done. Tonight, as we're recording this on the 23rd, they
Mhm.
are airing a colorization re-edit of the original Dalek story. I don't know if
Yes.
that's going to be available in the US. I feel like it should be somewhere. Like, it seems like a fun
Yeah.
thing to like. Like, are they gonna? There must be a way. Surely, surely there's going to be a way for you to see it because it's been cut down from. Look, I'm going to be real. Introduce the Daleks. Good times. It did wonderful things,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah,
1960s TV. The whole story is like 2 hours long or something, and there's a lot of waffle in there. There's a lot of people talking and walking
yeah,
and just repeating themselves. But there's reasons as to why it was filmed and done that way in those days, and I'm sure if we get
yeah.
there, we'll cover that stuff. But to introduce it to someone who's never seen it before, that could be a bit of a slog. So,
Yeah, you're like, "Hey, here's this great thing. I
mhm.
promise you'll love it," and they're watching it, and they're like
As people I can think of who may be watching right now, if I'm going to introduce them to this show and go, "Hey, watch this 2 hour thing,"
yeah, they're
it's a
gonna be
great
like,
time. I promise.
you know?
But no, I'm obviously the colorization is interesting, and I'm
Yeah,
wondering how much of a artistic like because we know us nerds know what colors are supposed to be in those black and white scenes, so it's going to be interesting to see what they artistically go. No, actually, we're going to have this be this color because that makes more sense, and we're going to do this and that.
Change it up.
And then we'll all moan
Yeah.
about it like the nerds we are, like, it's not meant to look like that, it's meant to be this.
Yeah. You're like, "We already have a hierarchy of the Daleks based on colors. We're not
um,
messing that up today."
but no, honestly, what I'm most excited
Yeah.
for is seeing how they've re-edited it to make
Yeah.
it more consumable, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And that's tonight. If you're watching this
Hey.
live, it's on BBC
Yeah.
Four, I think. I'm not sure what
Okay.
time. So, like, the original was, I think, 6 parts. I think it was a
Mhm.
6-part story, each of them being 25 minutes long each.
Gotcha. Oh, so it's gonna be
So,
75 minutes
so
then,
they've
I
cut it
believe.
down to a 75-minute
Yeah,
like
yeah,
movie version of it.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, just that says it alone. If they found a way to cut all of that down to 75 minutes, there's clearly stuff in there that, debatably, you can kind of get around. Like, that's a lot to cut. That's a lot cut
Yeah,
out.
that
Um,
is a lot to cut.
but importantly, the original is still there. You can still go watch it.
Yeah,
I've seen it multiple times, so I'm interested to see what they've done with it. But yeah, it's exciting. It's nice to have something happening on the actual 23rd.
yeah,
That's
the
fun.
actual yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's just a fun way of, like, I think for a lot of individuals, it's like a generational thing where they watched it with their parents or something like that, so it's a fun way to be able to be like, "Hey, like, when I watched this, it was, all black and white, and it was very, very long, but here you
Hmm.
get to experience it now too," and they're also experiencing a little bit of a new element to it with that color and seeing it cut down, and I think it's just a fun way to pay homage and experiencing something new together.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing I'm most excited for. And I hope they do. I mean, there seems to be hints that they're going to do that with more of the black and white stuff.
Yeah,
Like, at first, everyone was like, oh, it's just going to be a fun anniversary treat that they've put together. But there's been a few things that are indicating that maybe they might do some more. Colorization is a uphill battle. Like, I don't
yeah,
know how they did it, but I know some people who have done it previously. You have to go through it frame by frame, coloring everything in. I don't know if they've made that an easier, like they've changed things. I assume there's technology that
yeah.
they've used to help them not have to do it that way. But yeah, good times. I think that's everything on the list. That, unless there's anything you had in your head that you wanted to talk, if anyone had any things that they wanted to ask, now's the time.
Yeah.
Now is the
Now
time.
or
If
speak
you,
now or forever
I
hold.
know, while I was circling other people's streams and we were talking about this, um, like they wanted to know what our favorite doctors and stuff were, and like all that kind of stuff. Which I think if we keep doing this, if we do more of these,
Yeah,
we'll do like specific ones where we will talk about, this is our favorite story, this is our favorite doctor, and we'll break
yeah.
that stuff down. Yes, we did see Camo. We saw, we gave our full thoughts of the children. Sorry, you were a little bit late. We did sit, we saw, we we talked about the Children in Need short at length, and we got
Yeah.
into all of it. But we both enjoyed it. We both had a good time with it, and
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, very tongue in cheek way of poking fun and also honoring. It was for a good cause, and it's just, when is the doctor not coming in to the wrong place in time every
yeah,
shit show, right? When is that not a consistent thing that
it's
happens? So
it's a pretty good, like like makes the situation worse than when they got there, and then
Yep.
fixes it.
Yep.
Everyone who's watching live or watching the YouTube, I think I'm going to set up a place on the Discord server which is specific to this. So if anyone's got anything that, hey, could you talk about this, or what do you think of this, etc., etc., that'll be the place to do all of that. I've enjoyed this, despite us both getting over our anxieties about, hey, we're just going to sit and talk for an hour and a half, just about, and hope it works and people like
Yeah.
it. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, but it was fun. Like, we have so many of these conversations, so it obviously depends if people enjoy this or not. But it's fun just being able to discuss, even though my brain gets facts wrong, even though I write them down the right way. But that is the joy of it. But yeah, there's so many topics and so
hmm
many different things that people are passionate about when it comes to the doctor, that it's it can easily. you can make a 2-minute topic
Mm-hmm.
like an hour long,
Yep.
right? There's a
Easily.
reason why people get so triggered by so many different things when it comes to the Doctor. So the
Easily.
smallest things can cause a lot of debate, and I'm sure no matter what happens with the new
Oh,
seasons and these specials, there's gonna be debate. There always is,
absolutely.
no matter what.
No matter what you do, whatever opinion you have about this show, someone will think it's the wrong opinion.
Oh yeah, 100%,
And equally,
100%.
someone will think it's the right opinion. And that's a good and bad thing. It keeps the debate going. As long as you're not being a dick about it, then it's all good.
Yeah,
It's all good.
and, obviously, when Doctor Who first came out, it was a very different time period in some ways, so you have a lot of people that are like, "I think my doctor needs to be, like, just like this and this
Mm-hmm.
alone."
Mm-hmm.
Where times have changed so massively, and not everyone has changed with those times or agrees with the changes. So you have your, like, stick in the mud type individuals,
Mm.
and then you have everything ranging in between then. And then you have really open-minded individuals, like I would say I was probably one of the few that agreed with some things in Jodie's season, so it's there's always things to discuss, but I think that's the beauty of it, right? It's
Mm.
if you can
Absolutely.
barely listen and appreciate someone else's opinions on something, like the Doctor Who has always been more about just Doctor Who, right? So it's kind of opening up conversations about just life in general, what's happening in that time period, and respecting and learning more about each other through those conversations. And I think it's just that respect that is key when it comes to discussing these things.
Yeah. Like, sort of like looping back to having watched this in the 90s.
Mhm.
It's interesting seeing people get so attached to one particular actor playing the role
Mhm.
because that's where they started watching it from, and that's what they like. That's the one I'm attached to. But having
Yeah,
grown
yeah,
up in the 90s, I had 8 of them there
yeah,
ready to go. So my opinion of it has always been very flexible, and like I'm not attached to anyone at all. Like
yeah,
I'm very used to the idea of multiple people playing the part, and not only that, but the tone changes and the dynamic changes, and like one there could be a story that's a spooky one, or there could be one
yeah,
that's a very heavy sci-fi one, and I'm just like, I'll take all of it, thanks. And then there's other people who are like, this is what Doctor Who is to me, and that's how I like it, which is
yeah,
fine,
yeah,
which is
yeah,
absolutely fine. If that's your thing, that's your thing. But I've
yeah.
I've always been like, Doctor Who is just an amalgamation of just about anything and everything, and I've never had like the feel like it must be this way. This is how it must be done.
Yeah, and I think I've always been open to change in general. I think for me, what I do get attached to is like the story of that specific doctor, and I want justice for that story. So I feel like when we move on to a new doctor without fully wrapping that up or just kind of leave it as just a loose plot line per se, I'm
Mm.
like, what? You know? Okay, cool. And like half the time, maybe that will be explored later, but probably never again. And I'm like, all
I,
right,
yeah,
that's kind of
I don't know
crappy
what
to
you're
do that,
talking about.
doctor.
I don't know what you're talking about. I
You
don't
have
know
no idea
what
whatsoever.
what era you could possibly be referring to with that at all.
Well, it's more than just one, but yes, yeah.
Yes.
I think I don't get attached to the doctors themselves. I think all of them bring unique things. It's a big shoe to fill, and you're kind of learning. You're trying to ingest all of these in previous people who have come through as a doctor before you, and you're trying to take tips and hints and all of that,
Mm.
and try to create your own version of it. So I think everyone brings some great things to the table. Obviously, there are some more favorites over others, but it's always going to change. Like life is always changing, right? Things are
Hmm.
always changing. Technology is changing. So it would make sense for a show that's been going on for 6 decades to survive. They have to change.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the only reason it's
Yeah.
still going.
Yeah.
Let's be real. Good stuff. I grew up with David and loved him. I mean, I respect your opinion. Look, I love all of them. I love all of them for different reasons. But controversially, I've said this many times. I love David Tennant
Mhm.
as an actor and a human being, but
Yeah. Yeah. A hilarious human being.
but not one of my favorite doctors. Controversially, and I understand that I am the problem on
I
that one.
don't. I don't think so. I think, as you said, I feel like David Tennant, who is a phenomenal individual in general. Just a great actor, a great like member of society.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, he like just overtook so much of the franchise for so long that, as you're saying, it's like, okay, let someone else have a little bit of it, you know?
Hmm.
And I think for some people that can rub people the wrong way.
I
For
understand
some,
he's
it's like they're
bankable.
excited. Yeah.
He's like, I understand the business.
Yeah,
Yes.
he's in there.
Eccleston for
Uh,
me. Mama Builder says Eccleston. How do you feel about Eccleston? I don't think I've ever heard you talk about Eccleston at all.
well, yeah, I think it's just because it was fine.
Yeah.
Like, he was fine, you know? I think going from him to David Tennant doesn't really do him justice because 'cause they're such different
Mm,
personalities and energy levels a little bit.
yeah.
So I think David Tennant coming to the role kinda completely overpowered what Eccleston had set up. I don't think he was bad by any means. I enjoyed that first season, you know?
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
I definitely
I have
stick to
no strong
the
opinions either way.
yeah. I definitely stick to had he stuck around longer,
Yeah,
I would have been more attached to him.
I think so. He definitely had that, like,
Yeah.
quality. Like, he didn't do bad. Like, he
No.
had the qualities of the Doctor. I think just being cut short and then bringing in someone who completely could take over the franchise right after, you know, like, in every which way,
Hmm.
kind of made it seem like that one season wasn't really much.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the Are You My Mummy? He's great in that episode. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, that story was the one where I was like, when I was watching that as an 11-year-old, you'd think like I'm the prime audience for this show right now.
Yeah.
I'm exactly the right age, but because I'd already seen all of the other stuff, I was so judgmental. I was like,
You're like,
they
"I have an opinion
yeah,
already?
they haven't
How
even put his
dare."
face in the title sequence. What are they doing? Where's his face? God damn it!
What is this garbage?
But I will say that was the story that made me go, "Oh, this is Doctor Who. Okay, we're all good. We're all good."
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
even the
this one's
Dalek
getting you.
episode. It was that episode that did it.
I just remember, like, you would think I would be seeing that younger be scared of mannequins from that, but I
Mm.
remember, like, after that, just going up and talking to random mannequins and stuff had the opposite
It
effect
had
on
the
me.
complete opposite effect.
I would just, like, run away and hide and talk to mannequins.
That's good. That's good stuff
I
right there.
believed in the power of
I can imagine you doing that, just going up and just
Oh,
knocking on the
yeah.
window. Hello.
Got any stories for me? Yeah, this is why I was on a harness and leash, but that's the story for a different day.
Yes. Yes. All right. I think we're good. I think we
Yeah,
successfully did an episode one of a thing. Just
we
about.
did. We
Like I
did.
like I
Yeah,
say, we're
and it was
learning,
fun.
folks. We're learning, and
It was
hope,
fun.
hopefully, as we keep doing it, we'll just get more confident with it, and yeah, it'll be good times. Hopefully, like I say, we're going to be doing one of these for each of the specials that airs. Hopefully, providing times work out, it should be around about the same time each week that we do
Yeah,
these.
yeah,
Um, and then we'll, like I say, we'll focus on each specials, and then the Christmas one eventually as well when that comes out, and then we'll go from there. We all go from there, and if people want more,
yeah.
we will find things to talk about. It may not be every single week that we do it, but we'll be like,
There are so
okay,
many things to talk about.
yeah,
There's so many things.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
and the
All right,
Christmas episodes are always interesting.
yeah, I'm certainly interested to see how Christmassy it is for one. Are they going
Yeah.
to like super lean into the Christmas stuff or not so much?
Yeah, yeah, we especially, like, not we I won't derail here too much because
No,
'cause I'm
no,
wrapping up, but, like, Jodie's holiday episodes were very different than what we've
yes.
seen before, so it'll be interesting to see what they do, if they're gonna go back to, like, being very traditional
Hmm.
holiday episodes, or if they're gonna do some other stuff.
I'm also interested, like, this is a behind the scenes thing, but like, Chris Chibnall always kind of said that it was the BBC's choice that the episodes aired on New Year's Day rather than Christmas. Like,
Mhm.
and I'm interested to know, did Russell really have to fight to get it back on Christmas Day or not?
I
Like,
feel like probably not. I just feel like Russell can get away
yeah,
with
maybe
everything and
that's
anything.
they just trust his opinion on it. Like, yeah,
They're just like, "Fucking go at it," like, "We're so done
yeah,
hearing feedback." Just
maybe I don't know. Well,
yeah.
but yeah, that's
Well,
episode
I
one.
will say, yeah.
That's episode one,
Yeah.
everyone. Thank you for watching. If you're on YouTube, if you are on
Please
YouTube,
do.
you could be here live. we're on Twitch right now doing this live, and you can see all the times that have been edited out of this in and all of that good stuff. So there'll be a link to that down below, along with all the other relevant things where you can find Tash on Tash's various things that she does. All of the things in the thing
You
below.
don't want to find me.
Rude. Yes, they do. But yeah, and Discord, all that fun stuff. But yeah, YouTube, this is where we leave you. We're going to stay here with Twitch for a bit, but this is where YouTube go bye-bye. Have good days,
Bye,
YouTube. Bye.
YouTube. Bye.